and welcome back to the Common Connected podcast. I'm so glad to be here with my guest, Ronnie Vehemente. And if Ronnie, could you just take a few minutes and introduce yourself to people who aren't familiar with you?
Hello, thank you for having me, Janine. A pleasure. I am a licensed clinical social worker, founder of the Family Room, which is a psychotherapy practice in Los Angeles. And I have 30 years experience supporting kids, teens, new moms, parents, families to cope with anxiety, depression, grief, and trauma. And I'm really passionate about helping all of my clients really learn how to regulate their emotions and to be more connected to their authentic selves and to others.
Just a little light sort of thing that you do, right? Like very easy, very chill. You've been in the field for so long, for 30 years, right? And, I've been in the field for over 20, and it feels like so much has shifted
Mm.
since we first started, since I was in graduate school, that it feels like so much has changed. What are the biggest things that you've observed in the families that you worked with now compared to when you first started?
I think overall, children and families are much more anxious,
Hmm.
stressed, overwhelmed, distracted, less connected to themselves and each other. I think that has a lot to do with shared traumas like 9/11 and the COVID pandemic, and also like the impact of the advances in technology, particularly with social media. And what that does to children's mental health. I think there can be a daily struggle with how to manage screens every day, and I think with that, with overworked parents and overscheduled kids, with just all of these different activities after school and on the weekends, I think that creates less time for families to connect, have conversations, communicate, even family meals, or just even like being together without having to do and having to prove. um and I think that there also, we're in this culture of like immediate gratification,
Hmm.
external validation, with all of these expectations and the pressure and the intensity of who we're supposed to be or who we think we're supposed to be.
It is so true. Things have shifted so much, and there is this, intensity that wasn't there before. I think about the world shifted on 9/11, and I don't know if I shared this with you or not, but my first day of graduate school, my internship was 9/11. That was
Mm,
my
wow.
very first day of
Wow.
working in the field. And so
That's
it shifted
yeah.
completely that day. So, that it makes a difference. Those sort of like shared experiences, that shared trauma impacts us all. We also have, everybody lived through COVID-19, you
Mhm.
know what I mean? So we've
Yep.
got that sort of shared experience, but there's
Yeah.
also this like layer of intensity that I did not anticipate and did not see when I was first starting out. So even just, I've got a senior right now in high school, so the college process. Oh
Hmm.
my goodness, the
Hmm.
college process alone. And I've been talking to my other mom friends who've got juniors and seniors. It's very intense and it's very different from how it was when we were going through the application of process as well. So just that intensity of like I've been to two webinars and I've got to do all this stuff and there's dates that I have to remember. It's so much, and we sort of lose the joy of connecting with one another and the joy of just being a family, just enjoying each other's company.
Hmm. Yeah, again, I mean, my college application experience was drastically different than what my older son went through a few years ago. And I think there's, again, just so much pressure to prove and to do, and just like a long list of accomplishments. And that, that feeling like, they're never enough just as they are, which really, I think, hurts someone's like soul and sense of self.
Yes, absolutely. It feels like, I was actually just talking to one of my clients about this. He's a junior and he's starting that college process. He's
Mhm.
starting to look, and he's like freaking out because of one particular grade. And
Um,
I get really worried when kids are starting to freak out over one grade in one time. And, I want them to be able to do things where they are just doing things to enjoy life, not for what it looks like on college, not what people will think. What do you love? What do you want to do? What do you want to enjoy? Right? It's the stress of like, I need to do this in order to be presenting myself as the best person
Mhm.
versus, I am just a person who is interested in these things and I'll tell you about them.
Yeah, so much more, I think, forward thinking rather than living in the present and being in the moment and being grateful for being in the moment and for
Yeah.
all that we have rather than what we lack.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So I wanted to just dive a little bit into coping skills because
Yes,
that's one of my favorite areas to talk about. I have a
yes,
passion for coping skills. And
yes.
I'd love to hear, like, what are some of the most effective coping skills you found for helping teenagers navigate their emotional world?
With all of my clients, I really like to talk about going back to the basics. So that's like good sleep hygiene, good nutrition, hydration, movement, spending time outside, finding something that you love, and having positive relationships. I'm also a huge fan of breath and breathing exercises. So again, I think deep, slow breaths really help one self really slow down and calm and regulate our nervous systems. And there's this wonderful resource called the Mood Tools app, which has an enormous amount of tools to use. And some of them are breathing, like 4-7-8 breathing, flowers and candle breathing, again, to help you just get yourself out of whatever negative, overwhelmed state that you might be and ground in the present moment. And I think in today's world, kids and teens, and also, adults, quite frankly, are just so busy. They
Mm.
don't check in with themselves every day to see how they're feeling, like what they're feeling. We're just always on the go and having to do. And, when we take the time to just check in with how and what we feel, like name it to tame it, that in and of itself can decrease some of the depression or anxiety or pressure that people might be experiencing. And then there's journaling, art, music, and all these different ways, nonverbal ways to identify and express and process how we feel. There's also changing the way that we think can change the way that we feel. So again, Mood Tools app has like self-love notes and like doorway affirmations, right? So, which I love. Every time you walk through a doorway, you say something lovely about yourself, like I am safe, I'm loved, I'm kind, I'm worthy. And also, identifying those situations and thoughts that can really impact, your mood, and to help you understand more of your internal world. And of course, having social positive relationships with family and friends, just to name a few.
Just to name a few. I love it. People ask me all the time, like, what are your favorite coping skills? And I feel like I just rattle off a list of all of
Yes.
these strategies that I absolutely hold near and dear to my heart and want everybody to know and learn about, right?
Yeah.
Because you know how powerful it is to, number one, honestly, naming your feelings.
Hmm.
So powerful. And to your point, people don't do that.
Hmm.
Humans, as just we as being so busy, it's
Hmm.
hard to stop and like sort of reflect, how am I feeling today? And to be able to do that, to take that moment and pause and say, I'm really frustrated in traffic. I'm really irritated. I'm really joyful right now. I'm really calm. I'm really stressed. To be able
Hmm.
to name it makes such a big difference in self-regulation. And it's huge. It's huge. People think it's so simple and it is, but it's so powerful. And seeing it, I've seen it time and time again where kids can name it and then immediately there's just this like sort of whoosh that goes through their body and they're like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm ready to talk now.
Yes, yes. But again, I'm sure also in your practice, like I have many adults
Mm.
who are challenged by even identifying their emotions,
Yeah.
much less learning how to manage them when they're really big. And so the parents that I work with, I really encourage them to teach their children at a very young age what their feelings are, how they feel them in their body, and
Yeah.
how they can cope with them and manage, big feelings. Because again, when it becomes kind of common language, it's like less fearful and just so much more easily accessible. And it's just part of your family culture and your family system. Yeah. And so building that, foundation and having the building blocks of emotional intelligence, which I believe is such a gift
Mm.
that is not taught enough.
And I agree with you, and that's why I am such a huge advocate for social and emotional learning in schools,
Mhm.
because there's so much good work that can be done. And research shows if you are focusing on social and emotional learning, academics are improved.
Of course.
Interactions with each other are improved,
Mhm.
school attendance improves, like all these different things are sort of, they fall after when we are paying attention to the social and emotional learning. So I am such a huge advocate for making sure schools talk about it. And then, as you know, the person who's running coping skills for kids, I also talk about it with the families that I'm working with, the families that I'm talking to, and being able to say, yes, let's use feelings language. And yes, maybe you as the adult weren't taught, you can learn too as we
Yes.
do this. You can
Yes.
learn what it feels like in your body. And it takes practice, right?
Yes.
Like, where does anger feel? Where do I feel anxiety in my body? But
Yes.
to be able to do that and model that for kids is powerful.
Hmm. Absolutely. I mean, again, I think, I say this all the time. Our children are our wisest teachers. We
Yes.
learn so much from our kids as parents.
Yes, absolutely. And there's nothing like being a parent that really highlights where you still need some work.
Hmm.
Like really,
Indeed.
there's, it's like they just reflect back on you. And if you do this work and you do these things, and being a therapist, I talked with my kids when they were little about their feelings and when things were stressful and how to like sort of self-care and do that sort of stuff. And I've had my kids look at me and say, you need to take a break and play. You are doing too much. And then to have that reflected back to me was like it's harsh at first, but so true. Like they can see when I'm overwhelmed. They can see when I'm stressed out. And they're like, "Why aren't you doing what you said that we should do when we feel
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, right? When they teach us.
It is. Now, so this is an interesting thing to think about. So like how do we help parents? How would you want parents to understand and respond to the ups and downs of the teenage being without like overstepping the boundaries or creating more conflict? Because I really feel like parents of teens want to connect. Parents of teens want to help, but sometimes it can get really messy and icky. So what are your suggestions or ideas for helping parents of teenagers? Because that's a whole different beast.
Indeed. What I love to talk about and process with parents is to be calm,
Hmm.
be curious, be compassionate, and to be present. I think facing any situation with kids and teenagers, the second that we approach something being agitated, angry, or irritated, the conversation goes sideways.
Yep.
And so, being calm and remaining calm when our teens may be going through the roller coaster of emotions. And certainly, if we come from a place of, like in a crisis, like what's wrong, or like being super critical, like, well, you should have, or you should, we lose our children in that moment. And so, really coming from a place of attributing the best of intentions to our children
Mm.
when they are like really coming from a place of what is my child experiencing in this moment? What are they struggling with? So one of the parenting nuggets that I learned early on was that negative behavior is communication of unmet need.
Yeah.
When I heard that, that changed my view and approach to parenting enormously. So rather than seeing children as intentionally being difficult,
Right.
I really paused. I'm like, what's going on for them right now? Like, what are they experiencing? What are they struggling with? What are they telling me? What need is not being met right now? And so to be able to reflect in that way allowed my responses to be so much more compassionate and patient
Yes.
rather than reactive. And that has made all of the difference from the time that they were infants to the
Yeah.
time now that I have a young adult and a high school son, so it really can change the overall way in which parents can understand and respond to their children's emotional needs.
Yes. And I think also recognizing that sometimes you're still human and you're still going to have
Oh,
moments, right?
indeed. Of course.
Absolutely. And to be able to give yourself grace in those times.
Hmm.
You're living for the first time too. You're here and you're doing this parenting thing for the
Yes.
first time too. And
Yes.
so to be okay with like, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but I am working towards it.
Yes.
I'm recognizing they're also, giving them the benefit of the doubt, trying to stay as calm as possible in those moments and being able to repair the relationship when things go wrong. That's
Hmm.
okay. That's
Yeah.
it's what we have to do as people, so we
Yeah.
should be able to start to figure out how does that look in a family.
Hmm. Yeah. I think when our children see us as human,
Mm,
that are flawed, that makes them more forgiving and understanding as well. Which reminds me of like this other parenting like nugget that I love. When I
mm.
heard be who you want to see, that also changed everything for me.
Yes.
So if you want to raise children who are kind and generous and resilient and patient and compassionate and strong, you have to be those things too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that it's huge. Like
Huge.
we are the role model, right? Like
We
if we
are
are not having good coping skills,
right,
but we're trying to teach good coping skills,
right.
it's hard, it's jarring a little
Yes,
bit. Like we've got to know, we got to work on our own stuff and
yes,
then be able to help those kids in our lives, including our own, to be
yes.
able to use those strategies. So I'd love to hear more about mood and how the mood tools work. You mentioned something about that earlier.
Yes. So the Mood Tools app is this wonderful resource of more than 80 evidence-based tools that are like bite-sized, digital first content, which empower kids to navigate their life's ups and downs on their own terms in their own time. And they're really designed for like 9 to 17-year-olds. It's free to download on iOS and, Android. And they are all these therapies and strategies are all rooted in modalities like dialectical behavior therapy, cognitive behavior therapy, acceptance commitment, therapy. And, with the APA, reporting that 2 out of 5 children are not getting the support that they need, which is
Yeah.
astonishing. Right.
Yes.
I think it's even more important for parents and children to be able to have resources that are accessible,
Mm,
tangible, and effective. And that's what the Mood Tools app is all about. And they're, developed in partnership with psychiatrists, child psychiatrists, educators, parents, and a team of ambassadors who, make the tools, current and relatable and totally easy to use. I mean, I am a fan. I use it myself. And I encourage all of my clients to use them, whether they are, children, teens, or adults, because just because this app is made for 9 to 17-year-olds doesn't mean that parents can't use them themselves. Because, like I said earlier, right, our children are our wisest teachers, and we are the models of everything for them, and
Yep.
we can learn alongside them.
Yep, absolutely. And that's what's so powerful. And what I love is that, when you are using strategies, like I have tried a ton of strategies, and those are the things that are in the coping skills for kids workbook and teens workbook, right? And
Yeah.
so when you have those strategies, it makes such a difference. And what I have played around in the mood tools, and it's really super user friendly, very cute
Yeah.
and like very easy to sort of navigate. Plus, I love the like you are able to track your feelings. And that is huge because again, back to that name it to tame it. If you can start to get practice at naming the feeling and then sort of start to track like what is happening for me throughout the days, throughout the weeks, it's
Mhm.
really interesting feedback that you can get. So I think it's really neat that this has been created, and I love, using all the evidence-based best practices out there, fun strategies that kids would actually use, right? Like these aren't things that like aren't going to be helpful for like teenagers. Teenagers
Yeah.
will use these.
Yeah. Teen friendly, empowering, effective, accessible,
Yeah.
powerful.
So where can people learn about the mood tools?
So mood.org, there's the Mood Tools app. Again, it's on Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media platforms. And again, it's free to download, and again, very easy to use. And so, people that I have, recommended to them to use this, platform have really found it so helpful.
Yeah,
I found
absolutely.
it helpful.
No, it's actually like very fun. Like
It is.
just as like a therapist, I'm like, oh, that looks like a fun.
Yeah.
Try that. I'm going to try that next. I'm always looking for new strategies. I'm
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, this could be fun. I'll try
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
just a reminder because a lot of times, it's the remembering of the strategies that can be so tricky in the moment. And
Mhm.
so if you have something that is a reminder for you of like, oh yeah, I could do that. I forgot that I did like that. And that actually has worked for me in the past. So kind of fun to be able to have that at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So
Wonderful.
thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. As always, I like to ask my guests one last question. What are your coping skills? How do you rest and relax?
So I love to read and take walks. I love to nap. But I also like practice what I preach. I journal, I listen to music, I talk to my friends, I meditate, I do breathing exercises. But one of my favorites is actually dance. I love to dance.
I love that. What type of dance do you like to do?
A range, so like jazz, funk, hip hop, lyrical, and actually dancing in heels.
Oh, that is hard. I'm like, my calves hurt right now thinking about that.
It's a skill for sure.
I love that too. I'm a dancer at heart myself. Like I'm not trained, but
Mhm.
I dance in the kitchen. I go to Zumba. That is a way that I love to move my body. I will always dance. I think until I'm done, I'm dancing.
Same, same. I mean, again, I think it is, it's my way of being in the moment, to be
Hmm.
in my body and to really express and release emotions. There's such freedom in it. And there's also a sense of community,
Yes.
connection.
Yes, and that is something that is I've been hearing and thinking more and more about that the connection piece is huge and such a part of coping is
Yes,
that tend and befriend
yes,
actually to
yes.
be together and to do something together and all of your heartbeats getting in sync, all of your breathing getting in sync, sharing about like that routine was really rough and it was
Yeah,
fun but it was hard and tricky,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
there is something so powerful about community. I
There is.
Yeah, I'm starting to explore that more and more and dive a little bit deeper into that because I'm really loving it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, powerful, just way of being,
Yeah.
really.
Yes.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it, Ronnie. It's been
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Oh
It's
my
been such a lovely way to spend the afternoon.
um,
And, if we ever to meet in person, we'll have to take a dance class together.
I would totally do it. I am not good at other types of dance. Like I can do okay with like Latin. Like like I'm good with the Latin beats. I'm okay with like a little hip hop. Oh my gosh, lyrical? Are you kidding me? I would do it, but I would be like on my butt, I think.
What we do on the dance floor is what we do with life. It's about learning and really being free and just being in the moment and being in your body and being connected and just having joy.
Yes.
And let it go. Yeah.
Having fun, because there are many times where I'll be in a dance class and I'm like, I have no idea what you're doing, but I'm grooving to the music and I'm having a good time and I will catch up with you.
You're right.
But not now. Oh my gosh, it's been so fun talking to you. Thank you so much.
So fun. Thank you. Pleasure.
And thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you like this podcast, feel free to share it with your friends and colleagues. And as always, take a few minutes, have a little fun, and have an awesome day.